A very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another show. It's called Jazz TV Show, and we have George here today with us. And today we're not talking about real estate, and today is going to be something different. It's about life. It's about the experiences that we go through in life, and we'll talk about life. Just keep it the topic as let's talk about life today, George.
Wonderful. Thanks for having me here, Jazz.
It's a pleasure, George. Thank you so much for coming over, and it's a great pleasure. I'll give a bit of an introduction. George is someone that I look up to as well, and someone who's really positive, and someone I've always been working with the last few years. And the journey started when you first purchased a home with us, and then we've gone through so many transactions, and a relationship has gone stronger since thereafter. And thank you so much, first of all, to entrust us. And I'm sure you're quite famous on Facebook from our videos. You've been featuring on a lot of our auctions and a lot of your auctions and a lot of your sales as well. And today we are doing a show together.
Yes, no, it's very exciting.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much, George.
My pleasure.
So, George, I think nowadays, of course, people in life, it throws things at you, and we all go through things in life. And I really want to talk about what happened in your life. What was your life experience? Who's George? Where you started? What do you do? And we'll talk about how to stay positive in life, which is an important factor in life, and how you manage adversities and how you manage challenges in life for a younger audience to sort of see, and how they can manage, and someone who can learn from our experiences and your experiences.
Yeah, wonderful. I suppose the story starts quite a few years ago. Let's see now. Dad was a builder, so that was what got me interested in the whole building trade and getting involved with real estate. I myself was a real estate agent for a while as well. Jumped out of that. I like to think I've done pretty much most jobs. I find if you experience things, then it changes your outlook on life.
100%.
It really does change
100%.
your outlook. I changed it from real estate. I did telemarketing.
Nice.
I also currently do security, and I've been doing that for the biggest part of my life is security. So it's very interesting, security. No 2 days are the same.
Experiences that you showed me.
Yes, there's never the same thing that happens twice.
Tell us something about security. What do you see? Something major that happened?
I can't go into too much detail, but I can tell you that it is different every day.
Yeah.
And some of the things you see, you just can't imagine. Behind the scenes, you see a side of people where they don't know you're watching it, they don't know you're looking. So you see a more raw view of life.
Right.
A lot of the time when you're sort of in that corporate world, people have this facade, they're lovely, their smiles, they're greeting everybody and shaking hands, and there's a persona they put out. But once you get behind the scenes, and one of the wonderful things about being in the security industry is that most people don't know you're there.
Yeah.
They actually look through you.
Yeah.
We're just part of the furniture in a lot of the cases.
Yeah.
So we get to see the real them, and we get to see their real personalities, and sometimes it's chalk and cheese.
Right.
So what you see as a lovely person who's talking and smiling and is nice and says all the right things to the general public and that corporate view, they can be some of the nastiest people and the most disrespectful people behind those doors. Then you've got the others that are very quiet and you think, oh, they wouldn't want to talk to them. Yeah. And then you actually find out that they are the opposite. They are actually the loveliest people.
Some people don't have filter. They're actually the nicest people in the world I've seen.
Yeah, so it's very strange, but it's an amazing experience to see this behind the scenes. Where
it's a mindset, I guess, we have when we see a person wearing a suit in a corporate world, working in high-rise buildings in the city, would be the best person or the professional person in the world to talk to. And I can relate. I've worked in corporate as well, and obviously not in details as you may have. Perhaps I've seen that side, and I speak to clients. I feel sometimes at the start where oh, this is going to be a rough ride, but it turns out to be an amazing ride with them. And yeah, please, sorry to interrupt.
No, that's all right. It is really interesting because you are literally a fly on the wall.
Yeah.
So you get to see what people are really like. The most interesting is when you meet celebrities.
Wow. Interesting.
Those personas are different. Probably the nicest person I think I've met that's a celebrity was Olivia Newton-John.
Nice.
And that whole Sandy image that she had from Greece, that really sweet, girl next door, that's exactly what she was like.
Wow.
And then there were others who, there was a few American actors who were also awesome.
Nice.
I remember one who's not a big name, but he was in one of my favourite movies.
Okay.
And he walked into the building and I was gobsmacked. I grew up watching his movie.
Wow.
And I just thought he was a phenomenal person, and to actually meet him was incredible. I think I was like a little 12-year-old girl and I literally screamed when I saw him.
Oh wow.
And he thought it was the funniest thing ever. Because most people don't recognise him. He's not a main character.
Gotcha.
He's generally one of the back characters.
Right.
And he thought it was hilarious.
But it's actually good because we all have a child inside us, man.
We do.
Depending on again what we get attracted to, and certainly you certainly feel that when your reactions are quite natural when you come across something like that.
Yeah.
And I suppose everyone would have a different facade, but there's someone else inside you.
Yeah. Because he normally plays that nerdy, geeky, 80s. He was an 80s actor, and I related a lot to that character.
Right.
Of being nerdy and geeky.
Yeah.
And to have seen him sort of come and walk to me and talk to me was like, oh no, this is the man I watch on TV. He's the movie guy, the cinema guy.
Yeah.
And here he is talking to me. So he was really nice as well. And then others you think aren't as high up in the celebrity world. So you assume that they're, more down to earth because they're just an ordinary.
Gotcha.
No, they can be very, very, do you know who I am? Kind of attitude. And I've never been one to like that kind
How
of
do you deal with those people, and what's your view on those people?
Well, I have to say with this particular person, I actually said no.
Yeah.
I knew who he was,
Yeah.
but when he actually physically said to me, do you know who I am? I'm here to see so-and-so.
Okay.
Do you know who I am? And I actually said no to him.
Yeah.
And that deflated him somewhat. Probably wasn't very friendly to him, and he wasn't friendly to me after that.
Right.
But, that's a little bit of a poke.
Push,
A little bit of a poke. But then it brought him back down to that level where, you know what, I'm doing a job.
Yeah. Exactly.
We don't need to be friends. I don't want your autograph.
Yeah.
I see a lot bigger people than yourself and more powerful people than yourself.
Being nice goes a long way.
Oh, it does. It does indeed.
Because you may have something, because thinking from a perspective of a positive mind and a perspective where if you have an influence, you can perhaps have a positive impact on someone's life.
Yeah.
And what you say could potentially make someone feel good about it.
Yep.
Or could potentially make that person have a view towards yourself. So better to leave a positive view towards yourself, because someone doesn't know you would remember you from how you make them feel.
That's right.
Not what you say to them, because you may forget what you say, but you would never forget what they've made you.
That's correct.
Feel.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always about, if you're meeting someone, even if it's a 10 minutes or 10 seconds interaction, that's my personal view as well, that you make that person feel good about themselves as well. It's not about you.
That's right. Well, like I said, when this particular gentleman smiled at me and laughed with me because I was like a little school kid, it made me feel even better.
Yeah.
And I became a bigger fan of his because he was so nice and so down to earth about it.
Exactly.
Another sports person who I met, who people seem to think is a little bit ditzy and she's kind of disappeared off the scene a little bit, but she was quite highly adored as a sports woman. And she just happened to come in and she goes, I parked my car outside I don't have any money with me. I don't have any coins to put in the meter.
Wow.
Could I borrow some coins? Now, we've always got some coins lying around
Yeah.
behind the front desk, so grabbed a handful of coins, gave it to her. She went, put money in the meter,
Right.
came back in, went to a meeting, left, and I thought nothing more of it.
Yeah.
The next time she came in, which was a couple of months later, she actually returned that money.
Wow.
Now, we're only talking a couple of dollars here, but she actually gave that money back to us. And
Wow.
to me, that was like, and I'd forgotten about it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people come in and ask for coins and
Coins, yeah,
parking and
yeah.
etc. So you give a couple of bucks out, you don't think twice about it.
Exactly.
But the fact that she came back at her next meeting and had a handful of coins ready to pass back to me,
Yeah.
I thought, wow,
Yeah.
you know, you are a good person.
Correct.
You know, you're not just
I've,
a celebrity.
wow. That's good, because that means that person is actually either considerate and has remembered the favor you've done.
Yeah.
And I've also seen and heard experiences from a few family members who've worked in retail, for example, and I've heard people coming back to pay off the 80 cents or dollar less they had on the day they were shopping.
Mm-hmm.
And that it's not about that money.
No,
It
it's
actually
not.
then reminds you of doing the right thing in general in life.
That's right.
It's not just about that experience. It's about, you remember that doing the right thing is a bigger picture in life.
Yeah.
Be it is that similar instance, or in general that you have to do right thing for the people.
That's
and
right.
to the people.
That's right.
as
Because
well.
I look at it this way. She did the right thing by me and the people at the front desk because she asked to borrow. She was in trouble because otherwise she'd get, you know, a couple $100 fine,
Exactly.
$50
Yeah.
fine, whatever it would have been.
Exactly.
Right, it would have been harder for her. Then she'd have to go to the trouble of finding out how to pay it, etc.,
Exactly.
etc. But the fact that I felt it was a massive show of respect,
Yes.
because like I say, we get looked through. In
Correct.
security, we are looked through.
Yeah.
People don't care. We're treated
Exactly.
like servants.
Yes.
But the fact that she, who was somebody who had money,
Yeah.
because she had lots of sponsorships, so she would have had a fair
Yeah.
bit of money behind her. And I know that she's very money smart
Yeah.
from reports and
Exactly.
articles I've read.
Yeah.
Came back with a handful of coins
Yeah.
to give back to us.
True.
So to me, it was a respect that, you know what, this is only a handful of coins for me,
Yeah.
but maybe that other person right now needs that
For
handful
them,
of coins.
it could be life changing for that person, because you don't know what that person is going through in life.
Exactly. Exactly.
And sometimes it's vulnerable. They've been vulnerable to ask that.
Yeah.
Some people don't have that courage to ask a few dollars.
That's right. But it also shows that she's thinking and that, you know, you've helped her out.
Yeah.
She's appreciated it.
Correct. She's
And
come
she
back.
remembers that you've
Yes.
helped her out.
Yeah.
So there's that gratitude as well.
Yes.
So I know from my point of view, it's like, oh, she remembered.
Mm.
How great is that? I've actually
Exactly.
done something and
Yeah.
I'm remembered in that person's life. And she's
Exactly.
a star, she's a celebrity.
Wow.
And here I am, little old me,
Yeah.
being remembered by a celebrity.
What I'm gathering from your conversation, George, is keywords. What I'm trying to pick is keywords.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you put them in the pieces of puzzle of life, it's about having gratitude towards the things people do for you,
Mhm.
or being thankful to small favors you get from people.
Absolutely.
And remember to acknowledge that,
Absolutely.
either in return, or perhaps just remember to be there for them as well, or perhaps just say thank you.
That's right. Because nobody makes it by themselves.
Exactly.
Nobody will make it by themselves.
Exactly. It's people around you.
Yeah.
Even you know them, or they meet you for 1 day or 1 hour or half a minute, they can have a positive or negative impact on
Absolutely.
your life
Absolutely.
as well. So it depends on us to sort of do self-assessment as to, when you wake up in the morning, who you want to be today.
That's
Whether you
true.
want to go out, because no one will. Maybe the person who's being not so nice may have not thought about being nasty, but they've not even thought about being nice either.
Correct, yeah. You're planning your day.
I would still say, if I want to be a nice person, I would try not to judge that person who's being maybe not so nice and nasty with me, but I would also kind of think, hopefully you self-assess yourself
Mm.
and
Unfortunately,
realize
people
one
don't.
day,
Yeah.
and then who you are, and a small expression or what you say to someone could potentially make a big impact on their day, and that could have a big impact on their life. A day could change someone's life.
Absolutely, absolutely. A word can change a person.
Exactly.
Just one word.
Exactly. So it's always about doing the right thing, saying the right thing, and thinking the right thing as well.
Well, I've done a lot, so I've experienced a lot. I've been through ups and downs. My motto now is be happy, be good.
Yeah.
And that's it. It's as simple as that.
And let's drill deeper into it. How did you come to that decision? And what do you do to be happy, keep it simple, and be good? How do you do that?
For me, it was through a lot of pain, a lot of experiences, and you do things. So you grow up. I grew up and was expected always to be successful, to do your best.
By the family?
The family. So by the family, we had expectations. So my family had expectations that you have to be successful.
Like we all do.
We do, yes, right. So, and it's particularly the older generation. They want the kids to do better than they did. So they expect you to be more successful, have that better job, have that career, get your name out there as being somebody who's, an upstanding member of the community. Have money, have houses, have good cars, have good clothes, better than what they had, which I appreciate, and I'm happy that I was pushed in that direction, because if I didn't get pushed in that direction, I wouldn't be able to sit here today and tell you that that's all rubbish. That's simplifying it a great deal. However, I got to a point in my life where I had a family, a wife, 2 kids. I had a beautiful home that was well furnished. We had investment properties. We had holiday let properties, investment properties. We had multiple vehicles and beautiful cars.
Which I've driven one.
You have. So we were the lifestyle. A lot of people looked at us and envied us. We went on multiple trips. Every few months we'd go away for the weekend. At least twice a year we'd go on a cruise. Money was always very tight, but I had a very good job. I worked long hours, 14, 15 hours a day at least. I was on call 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. I'd get a phone call at any time of the day or night where I'd have to attend regardless of where I was. I had Christmas parties where I've had to leave my family on Christmas, which is an important day for myself, and attend work for a crisis or whatever was happening. After all of that, I went through a bitter divorce. Literally lost everything, and found myself, looking at life and going, what did I do all that for? What was that for? And now I'm sort of coming towards, I've just turned 50 a few weeks ago, so it's like, I've come to that point of, what was all that for? All that hard work that I put in, that life I put in, I missed out, on a lot for work. The jobs are still going. The buildings that I was protecting are still being protected. I've moved on from there, but it was as if I never existed. So what, as an individual, did I do to better myself or the world? I couldn't find it. So I tried to break it down into something smaller and more easy to sort of break down for myself. And I figured, you know what? I need to be happy.
Gotcha.
End of the day, why do you do these things? To be happy.
Exactly.
But how happy do you need to be?
What's the definition of being happy?
That's right. So you've got to work out what happiness is to you. And how do you get to be happy? And what is your moral? What are you willing to do to become happy?
Exactly.
So I decided,
That's a big question.
It is. So not only do I want to be happy, but I want to be good, because I want the people around me who I care about, one day when I leave this earth, I want my kids to look at me and my family and my nephews and my niece to say, you know what? He was good.
Mm.
He
A
may
good
not have had
person.
everything, but he was
Yeah.
good. He did the best he could. He was a good man.
Yeah.
Always was able to help.
Versus he was filthy rich but was not a nice person.
That's right. I don't want to leave that legacy. I'd
Yeah.
rather leave with, you know what, here's a couple of dollars and some old shoes.
Yeah.
That's all I've got to give you.
Yeah.
But
Because your next generation will remember you. The generation after will start forgetting who you
Yeah.
are. And the generation after them will not even
they
remember.
won't even know who
You
you
might
are.
even have your photo hanging on the walls.
That's right. But I do want to be remembered as, because I know with my grandfather, when I was in my early 20s, I went back to Mauritius, is where I come from, and somehow some stranger on the street saw me and asked my name, and I said my name, and they said, "Are you related to Felix Bouton?" And I'm like, "That's my grandfather." And he goes, "Yes, he was a great man." This was a stranger on the street telling me. Now, Mauritius is a very small place, but my grandfather hadn't been there for a very long time.
Right.
We're talking probably 30, 40 years.
Wow.
But he was still remembered as being a good man,
Wow.
a kind man. And I kind of put myself now on that level of, that's what I want. So I want to be remembered as a good man, but I want to be good.
Yeah.
Because by being good, it makes me happy.
Correct.
So if I'm helping somebody the best way I can,
Because it's first for you how you actually feel about yourself. If you feel good about yourself, then you can be good for others and be good
Correct.
to others as
Yes.
well out in the community.
which then brings you back to being happy. Because if you're being good, you're being happy.
Because if you're not happy with your life, you might be working, you might be getting paid a lot, and you might be running towards a goal like everyone goes. If I could think about cars, property, investments,
Mhm.
stress, and peer pressure of friends having investment properties, for example, that's what we sometimes see from potential clients that they want to buy an investment just because we get phone calls because there's a group of 10 friends who we know each other as clients, of course, and then them asking us about, hey, I've heard that you're managing my friend's property. How many does he have or does she have?
Yeah.
I think I should buy now. And then you see them 6 months later buying an investment property just because they want to feel good about themselves. But then
Yeah.
the stress they also bring to themselves is, and sometimes I feel that the person has not done research how to be a good investor at the same time, and that stresses you out, and then that flows through your personal life
Mm-hmm.
as well.
It does.
And I suppose it takes me back to your conversation about being good, being happy, and again, self-assessment
Mm-hmm.
of how happy you want to be and what makes you happy, and then also having that a border or barrier where you don't let others, perhaps the success that you see or perhaps that you perceive could be different in their life, in their definition, affect you.
Correct. That's
Sometimes what others are doing or then pretending that they're doing could perhaps affect you, and then you just go in the flow of not realizing what you're actually doing.
right. Mm-hmm. And this is the thing, I think a lot, especially with social media the way it is today.
Yeah,
Great platform to sit and
100%.
scroll till 4 a.m.
correct.
But you see a lot of these people who are happy. They've got the Lamborghini, they've
Yeah.
got the big mansion,
Yeah.
etc., etc. The lifestyle, the pools, the gorgeous babes hanging around them in their bikinis.
Exactly.
How happy are they?
Yeah.
Really, how happy are they? Or are they so far in debt and so far copying other people and trying to be the next thing
Correct.
that they're so stressed out? How can he be happy?
Correct. It's like getting stuck into I've seen people who've gone into that sort of lifestyle, and it's more of a pool where they actually now they can't get out,
Mm-hmm.
or they don't want to get out, and they're happy being not happy, and then happy being stressed.
Yeah.
And then
It becomes a life.
exactly that becomes life for them.
And it's very hard once you start acquiring, because I remember for me, having come from, a position where you had properties, you had money coming in, and you didn't have to worry about much because the money's coming through. Tomorrow you're going to work, so you're going to have a job. You know how much you're getting coming in. You've got the rent. The cars cost this much. This costs that much. You've gotten a good idea. You've got holidays coming up.
Yes.
And then to think about not having that, just the anxiety of thinking about, I'm not going to have that anymore.
Yeah.
You think you're not going to be happy without that stuff.
Correct.
But when it's taken away from you and you've got no choice,
yes,
you have to live with it, and you have to face it.
That.
And that's when you realise, no, having all those houses, having all the cars, having all the holidays, having all this admiration from people, which actually you think makes you happy. Yeah. All these people looking up to you, going, "Oh, I wish I had what you had." And then in the back of your head, you're saying, "No, you don't. You don't want this pressure.
Sometimes
you don't
want to swap positions. And you say, "Yeah, come to my position. I'll take yours."
Yeah,
exactly.
But you have to have the right outlook. You have to have that ability to do that, because not everyone can do it.
Correct.
But it's difficult to go back and start from fresh, which is pretty much what I've had to do. And I've decided this year that I made a list of, this is the stuff I want to do which will make me happy, and stuff that I'm good at, and stuff that I want to do. Because like you said, if I'm not happy in myself, how can I make others happy, and how can I be of any value to anyone around me? Saying that, it's very easy to say that. It's not so easy to do. There's a lot of struggle to find happiness.
How did you find yourself, and how did you manage to work out and come up with this idea of being good and being happy? How did you self-assess? What was the environment? Where did you sit? I can see myself sitting by myself in a quiet place and without a distraction, and thinking about life and self-analyzing, because sometimes when you sit down and start thinking, you are black as well.
You have to get to probably the worst stage of your life, I suppose, where you're down in the bottom, you're in the pits, and you are forced. It's like losing everything. You're forced to lose it. You start from scratch. But when you arrive at that point where you think, there is nowhere else for me to go, and you start evaluating, why am I here? And what is my purpose? Do I have a purpose?
Exactly.
And you fall into that darkness that I see as being at the very, very bottom. It's a point in your life where you do need to have good people around you. Because if you do get to that bottom, it can be very hard to get out. And having good people, honest people around you is really important. I'm very blessed. I have a fantastic circle of people around me. It's a very small group of people, but I'm very blessed for having those people.
I don't know, some of them.
You do. I think you know most of them, actually. Because it's really important to know who you've got around you. And it was through the support and the help of those around me that I was able to not only survive that really dark spot in my life, but also grow from it. And see that there is a value.
Correct.
Because everybody's got a value.
Correct.
Everyone's got a value. But what is that value?
For you,
right. So what is that value? And working that value out, having these people around me and the different views of these people and the support. And sometimes the support isn't necessarily them standing by you and cuddling you, or having drinks with you.
Exactly.
It's just knowing that those people are there.
Without any expectations.
Okay. They're not expecting anything from you. They're there for you, but they're not in your face constantly.
Correct.
You have space, but you've got that support where you need to go to. And you work through it with them helping you. And that's where I come up with the whole being good. And just being good and being happy.
Exactly.
And simplifying things.
How long did it take for you to sort of come out of that zone, and how was the initial zone when you faced the curveball thrown at you in life?
Okay. So I thought I was happy with my life prior to
Yeah.
separation and divorce. I look back and think you weren't happy.
Yeah.
It was all happiness to show the world.
Yeah, okay.
It was joy to show the world because I'm successful, I'm doing what I need to do, I've got a good job,
Yeah.
I've got a family,
Yeah.
etc., etc.
That perfect world.
A
Of
perfect
yours,
picture.
yeah.
And a lot of people said that. They looked at my life and thought, wow, we want to be like that. We want to have that life.
Yeah.
You know, it's picture perfect. We
Yeah.
want that. It can be very easy to paint that picture and sell it to the world.
Correct.
But inside, it's different.
Yeah, you know that from deep down.
And from my own experience, which is why now when I look at people and I can see, okay, he's driving, you know, a brand new Mercedes Benz and has a big, beautiful house.
Yeah.
And it's like, but I look at your eyes and I'm like, are you happy?
Yeah.
Is this
really
what you want?
happy? Yeah.
Is this what you really want? Is it what you need? You know, is it what your soul needs?
Yeah. Do you want or do you need two separate things?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm not saying money's not important. Money is very important. You know, schooling and education, and you know, having a home, a place you call home,
Exactly.
is really important.
Exactly.
Material things I've learned isn't as important, but there are items and objects that I have around me that remind me of good times, bad times, hard times. But everything I keep around me now isn't, oh, that's just a pretty furniture that I want to put in that corner. I've got that there because that reminds me of something that's happened in my life, whether it be good or bad, but it's a reminder.
Yeah.
So there's a purpose to having that there.
Correct.
Even something as simple as you know, a vase or a pot. I'll have a teapot. I'll have that sitting there, not because it's a pretty decorational piece, but it's more that piece has
what
a
value
meaning.
does it have for you?
It's a meaning behind it. I think I've strayed from what I was saying. I've lost my track of thought.
You're right. And I think one of the things in life is I try my best as much as I could before making such decisions to see whether do we really, and I'm probably talking about last 10 years, but if I go back that time from last 10 years and before, I was in the race of just getting what I feel I want.
Yeah.
But when I've seen ups and downs in life, and I kind of look at from the same perspective, do we really need these things? And or perhaps just follow the world because that's how world works, or do you really want to do what actually makes you happy? Or because once you get to a certain point, we want to be in a comfort zone as a human brain, and it's psychologically hard thinking that it's pushing back or pulling back, but it's ideal to sort of sometimes pull yourself back to a certain level where you kind of feel like, well, it's you're in control and you feel good about yourself, and you make others feel good about themselves as well. So one more question I would love to ask is, what's different in life now?
What's different in life now? The fact that I have simplified. As you know, I've gone from probably one of the biggest houses in the western suburbs, which was a family home, with mum and dad, to now living in a very sort of quaint home, small, but it's home.
Yeah.
It's homely. I'm comfortable. It's happy. You know, I'm as happy driving around in, you know, because I've driven Maybachs in my past, which is like a $1 million car.
Yeah.
But now I'm happy to potter around in a $500 car.
Exactly.
Because it gets you from A to B. It does what it needs to do.
Exactly.
Yes, it was lovely driving the Maybach. Oh my gosh! But it doesn't need to be.
You don't have to be over careful. You can just hit something.
Well, I leave it everywhere. I don't care. Nobody wants it.
Yeah,
Nobody wants it. But I love it.
Leave the keys in the car and say, take it. No one will take
Nobody
it.
wants it. But I love it.
Yeah.
I absolutely cherish my little car.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just one thing. It's just,
Exactly.
but it's. I found my joy with that car
Yeah.
because it's simple.
Correct.
It does everything I want it to do.
Exactly.
It's fun because it's cheap. It's fun.
Exactly.
When something breaks on it, it's kind of like meh.
Yeah, true.
I'm not so worried.
Yeah.
The value of the car's next to nothing. So if I
Correct.
fix it, I fix it. If I don't, just so be it.
Exactly.
So there's not a great deal of effort in maintaining that. However, if I was driving a
Yeah.
top of the range Mercedes Benz where it's
Yeah.
brand new and something goes wrong,
Yeah.
someone nips a corner,
Yeah.
it adds anxiety, it adds stress, and I'm at the point in my life I don't want to have anxiety. I
Exactly.
don't want to have stress. Life throws enough at you. Why
Correct.
put more on top of your
Exactly.
problems?
And I think when little things come on, I guess I think it's not the end of the world.
That's true. Yeah. So I mean, the less stress you the less stress you can try to have, the better you feel.
With the things that you can't control.
And some things you can, some things you can't. So with the stuff you can control,
Then you should have controlled it before it's gone out of control. Which means it brings us back to self-assessment again.
that's right. So it's almost a daily routine where you got to look at where you are, what are you doing,
Yeah.
what's happening
Where
today.
you want to be.
Yeah.
And where you don't want to be.
So I have my calendar is an old-fashioned $2 shop calendar, and I write everything in my calendar. I don't use computers
Yeah.
and technology
Yeah.
to keep my dates. It's a paper calendar that I scribble in,
Yeah.
and that's my way of knowing what I'm doing in the next few days and what
Yeah.
I've got important. But what it also means is that I physically go back and look at what I've done last month,
Yeah.
the month before, and I can see how busy I am. And then I can also see where I've gone and had blank spots. And it's like, well, what's happened there to cause me to have nothing in my calendar?
Yeah.
Because I'm very rarely not doing anything,
Right.
but I haven't put anything in, which means I've done nothing important.
Yeah.
And that's where you sort of evaluate yourself and go, well, what's happened there?
Yeah.
And you can say, okay, well, this happened, this incident occurred,
Yeah.
and it took me this many days to get over that incident.
Yeah.
So how do I change that so next time it doesn't take me 4 days to get over
get there,
this
yeah.
incident?
Yeah.
What can I change about myself to
Yeah.
make it better?
Exactly.
That it doesn't have that recovery period. We all need recovery period,
Correct.
but it doesn't need to be that long.
That long. Yeah.
What do I do to make that situation either not occur again
Yes.
or have my reaction to that situation
Yeah.
different? So you learn that over a period of time, and you find the things that make it worse.
Yeah.
A lot of people tend to fall to alcohol,
Yeah.
for example. So, okay, things have gone very bad for me today. Something very bad's happened to me today. I need to have a drink to switch that off. A lot of us fall for that. I fell
Yeah.
for that. But now I can comfortably say that something very bad can happen, and my mind does not go straight to I've got to have a drink. I've got to drink enough to pass out, so I don't have to think about that anymore.
It's like
Because
running away from your problems.
it is exactly that. You don't need to mask it,
Yeah.
because when you're masking it, guess what? You're gonna have to deal with it eventually.
Yeah.
And
Instead of fixing the wound, you're actually covering it.
and it's not solving anything.
Yeah.
So you need to face it and think with a clear mind,
Yeah.
because once you have alcohol and other things involved, you can't think straight,
Exactly.
and everything becomes a lot bigger,
Yeah.
and the whole world suddenly is against you.
Yeah.
But with a clear mind, you can sit there and go, okay, come on, wake up. It's not the whole world.
Sit back, think back.
That's right. It's not the whole world to get to.
Yeah.
Okay, it's just one thing's happened.
Yes.
Okay, we can deal with that.
Exactly.
What can I do to fix that problem? Do I
Exactly.
need to fix that problem, or do I just move on?
Exactly.
Because there are things we can't fix, we can't change.
Exactly. And just move on.
So do we just say this has happened now?
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
deal with it, move it, to the
Correct.
side,
Yeah.
and tomorrow's a new day.
Correct.
And sometimes you have to do that. You have to sit there and go, you know what? No control over that.
Yeah.
I didn't cause that. I had nothing to do with that. The impact on my life, yes, it's affected me,
Yeah.
but I don't need it to affect me for the
Yeah.
rest of my life.
Exactly. What they say is, I've heard this saying where don't let one bad day make you feel that you have a bad life.
Yes, correct.
So it's same thing.
It's like when I worked in call centres when I was training, because I've done a lot of training where I've trained people for different things. It's one of my joys in life is training people and mentoring people. I would tell them that you have a bad call. You have 2 bad calls. But your brain's automatically going to think the third one's going to be a bad call too. You have to program yourself to say no.
Exactly.
This could be the good call.
Exactly.
This next one could be the good call. This
That-
could be the big sale.
Correct. Correct.
Because
Exactly.
if you don't, you will go in there with a this is a bad call, so why should I try?
It's a mindset.
It's just going to be bad. I've had 2 bad ones already. I'm going to have another one bad.
Yeah.
I know it. I know it's going to be a bad night tonight.
Yeah.
No, it's not going to be a bad night unless you make it a bad night.
Exactly.
And if it is a bad night, guess what? Tomorrow is going to be different.
Exactly. I mean, that brings me back to, I can relate to that really, really well. I remember when I got into the real estate industry, and when I started, I mean, I've been really good at phones, even from my younger ages. Like when I was young,
Yeah.
when I was a child, I was good at phones, good at talking to people. Started working, and I pulled back a little bit for a few years, and then I came back after knowing the industry really well. My first listing was a phone call which my negative mind said not to make. Straight within a split second, my positive mind said, you should be making that phone call. You should not be judging where that person lives. It was an international number. But this is, of course, when I actually got into the industry and never sort of looked back. And this person was living in Malaysia. And I dialed that number. At that point, my negative mind said, well, I don't even know whether they own a property here. There was a list of potential owners in that list. And I called this person. And they said, you know what? I was actually thinking, there's about 20 agents called me in the last 7 months. And I never had plans. I was actually thinking this morning to sell. And they didn't know me. I didn't know them at all. It was a random phone call, a cold call that I made. And they just asked me, why do you think I should sell now? It was towards the end of the year. And I was new in the area. And the common sense just prevailed, and I said, well, if you sell now before December, people would buy for school enrollments in Jan in the area for school catchment. And it was not calculated, it was just something just came on my mind, and I just said that. Like, that's a point. Alright, send me the paperwork, let's list and sell. And my first listing was an auction.
Yep.
And it was a successful auction. It was a really good outcome, and there were nearly 100 people at that auction.
Wow.
Market was hot. It was a plus that the market was actually hot at that time as well, and it started to shift, but a few months later, and then I got to know so many people in that community from that auction, and I got few listings from that auction.
See, that's the universe talking to you.
Yeah.
That's another thing that I like to say is that everything happens for a reason. Good or bad, it happens for a reason.
Correct.
There are lessons.
Correct.
Everything that happens to us is a lesson.
Exactly. And it was that moment, if I had not made that phone call, I wouldn't have listed that property potentially, and I wouldn't have met Steve, who sold a property next door, and then from that auction, I got another listing from the street next to it, who came to see the auction, said, great outcome, come and meet me tomorrow. Went to see him, got that listing. First 3 listings were bang, 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 sold at very good prices. It was a hot market, we run the campaign really well, and then everything was then starting to sort of come into their own place.
So now when that voice comes in your head and says, no, that phone call, I shouldn't make it,
It never does now.
It doesn't, does it?
No.
Because now you go, oh,
Yeah.
bugger off.
I actually feel sometimes if I've got the days planned that I have to be in the office, make phone calls, and if someone says, I want to sort of do this today with yourself, I always said, no, we can do it, but after 3 p.m.
Yep.
Because I'm then concerned that if I'm not making that phone call, I could have been making that phone call in the office, then I'm actually potentially losing for future
Exactly.
business as well. And it's not just that, it's about the opportunity that I know that I can bring value to someone, knowing that I always ask myself, would Jazz list his own property to sell? If the answer is yes, then I need to be there with the clients as well. So if I'm not making the phone call, then they're not with me, and then they may not be getting that outcome.
So can you imagine though, had you not made that phone call,
Yeah,
you would not have learned that lesson.
exactly.
You would not have experienced that repetition of getting
Exactly.
clients come through.
Correct.
And that growth that you got, and that feeling of
That's right.
success, and
Exactly.
I'm glad I made that call.
Yeah.
So each time you go to sit in the office and make your calls,
Yeah.
and someone else calls you and says, "Oh, do you want to catch up for a coffee?" Yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
Because there's no lesson learned.
Exactly. Because that's like, yes, I'm procrastinating and someone's rescuing me from that situation, and I'll go and grab that coffee versus, and sometimes people ask me, what do I say? I say, just pick up the phone and just talk.
Yeah.
You don't have to have a magical script on the phone. Just pick up the phone and talk to people. That's what you got to do.
Because everyone's different, don't forget.
Exactly.
So a script isn't going to work for everybody.
Exactly. And that's exactly what one of my mentors in real estate says in starting as well. I can give you 100 scripts. If 101 comes to you, which is not part of your script,
What do you do?
what do you do? So just learn to understand people.
Yeah.
And learn to understand what they want. And can you bring value for them? And just be honest. If you can't, then you might not be the right person for them.
Correct. But by admitting that and knowing that, one, you feel good for yourself.
Yeah.
So you're being good.
Exactly.
Which will make you happy.
Exactly.
But it also means that other person's go, oh, damn, he's actually not BS'd me.
Yeah, exactly.
He's told me something that other agents or other people are not
Correct.
telling me.
Exactly.
It's like, well, you know what? I
Yeah.
might just give this guy a go anyway.
Exactly.
Because he's a bit more honest than some of the other people out there that have said.
Exactly. Because that person may be thinking from a different level. That thought process of that person could be different. Like you said, we all are different. We all think differently. So, and there's always an opportunity for everyone out there.
Yeah.
You just gotta be there in that moment. You just gotta be there. And I remember, like, I see it now, and I've seen it to myself, and this goes to everyone who's starting out in any industry, not just real estate. Don't think that you're new and you're not going to get through this particular industry, because there's people out there who may not want to deal with someone experienced.
Correct, yeah.
Someone really wants someone hardworking and perhaps new. Happens. And I've seen a lot of times, like, for example, we had an instance in one of our family members' life where they had to hire a lawyer, and they were searching for the best in the world. And I just said to them, look for someone who can actually help you, not the best person or the best lawyer who's the most expensive lawyer that you need. You probably need someone who's actually got that knowledge. If someone's good enough, that person's old enough to help you.
Yeah.
And thank God they listened. And the person they actually found actually worked harder than anyone else I've known would to get them an outcome.
Yep.
So it's about just doing things and being honest, and being honest about what you do for people, and being good to others.
Yeah.
And others will be good to yourself.
Yeah, but see how it comes back down to be good,
Self-assessment,
be
being
happy.
good. Yeah, exactly.
If you can get those two things right,
Yeah,
everything else seems to flow.
correct. Just think and just you do the right thing. You be good. Self-assess.
Yeah.
What makes you happy? Because sometimes just saying yes to everything may not make you happy eventually.
That's right. Yeah. You
And
do have to say no.
Yeah, sometimes you have to say no.
Yeah.
To make them happy and keep them happy in their life and your life.
That's right. Yeah.
So,
Well, I know from someone who's done a lot of hiring, some firing, when I look at people who are coming in, yes, I have a requirement that I need of them, and there are obviously legal obligations I have to meet. But generally, I like to meet the people, and a hint to people writing resumes is your resume is really important.
correct.
It needs to read nicely that you've got loyalty, you've got not always having a whole heap of experience.
Correct.
Means a lot more to me. I'd rather someone who has less experience but has got good reviews and a good comment about their previous employer, for example, because they're more likely to get hired.
Yes.
Because I find when you have somebody with so much experience, is that they bring with them a lot of bad habits.
Yes.
Or habits I don't want.
Exactly.
So if I have someone who's fresh, energetic, and they can show me loyalty, and they come from a different field,
exactly,
I'm more likely to choose them over someone who's been in the industry for a long time and been at several places, because, well, what bad habits are you bringing with you?
Correct.
And what habits of mine can I instill on you?
Exactly. I personally look at hiring on empathy, energy, drive, and enthusiasm.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you are bringing that on the table, then we can work together.
Yeah.
Because, and of course, you don't have to be exactly like me. You have your own strengths, but you gotta have these basics. That's so critical. George, thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure.
We can go on all day.
I know I could.
I really appreciate your time, and thank you so much for coming on our show today.
Oh, it's my pleasure indeed. Thank you.
I'm pretty sure a lot of people will get a lot of value from this conversation.
I hope so.
Thank you.
Right. My pleasure indeed.